So here I am, Hollywood and Highland, just hanging out, hanging by a wall. It's kind of what you do in Hollywood. Oh. Hey, man.
Hey.
You ever just hang out by a wall?
Dude, I made a career out of this for years and years with me and my buddy.
I'm not so silent, though.
I know you gonna dig this.
Get funky with me.
What's going on, everybody? How you doing today? So here I'm just sitting in a parking lot in Hollywood, as you do, enjoying myself. It's a beautiful summer day. And look who's beside me.
Ho!
What is up? Jason Mewes, star of Clerks, Mallrats, Dogma, Clerks II, Clerks III coming up soon, which I'm going to be asking you probably a fair amount of questions about. No spoilers. Recently, 2 years ago, you directed your first feature film, your own.
Yes.
Madison the Method.
Correct.
Which I watched, and I'm a harsh critic. I love movies. Movies is my life. I loved it.
Thank you.
I loved it, man. It was such a
Good.
great movie. And you guys can watch it right here on YouTube. It is available. So now I'm going to ask Jason a bunch of questions until his head explodes. Let's go. So, Jay, this is kind of like, it looks like you're in court right now.
Yeah,
the way you're
dun,
saying
dun, yeah.
Okay, so what's going on with you, man? You got a show going all across North America, right? Your own solo show, finally.
Yeah, so right now, it's cool because we're doing, for years, Kevin and I traveled with Jay and Silent Bob Get Old, the podcast. And so now then I started, Kevin had Hollywood Babylon and Batman Beyond, or Fatman Beyond, whatever he calls it now. They changed it a few times. But Kevin has like 3 or 4 other podcasts he does. So like when we weren't doing Get Old, he'd be off doing his other thing. And I'd be like, well, what am I going to do when he's doing that? Because if he had like a month booked out for Hollywood Babylon and this and that and that, we couldn't do Get Old, of course. So I'd be sitting around. So I was like, man, I got to do my own thing. So yeah, man, I started doing Jay Mewes and his amusing stories. And it's been awesome. I really enjoy it. It's funny because I've been doing it now probably about a year and a half. I owe it time for me gets sort of lost because I'll be doing something and I'll be like, man, I've only been doing this 5 months, and then someone will be like, no, bro, you were here a year and a half ago. I'm like, wait, what? So again, so I'm not sure exactly how, but again, the more and more I do it, I enjoy it. But what I realize is when I went into it, I really had like it just sort of fell into place, my 60-minute amusing stories. And now that I've been to a bunch of places and I'm starting to go back around to the same, I have to come up with a new set, if you will. But I don't do stand-up, so I don't write jokes and sets. So I find it difficult to, I'm trying to come up with a whole new story. I have lots of stories, but it's trying to put them in place to make them flow good. Anyway, but again, I dig it. I've been doing that a year and a half, and then now just recently, Kevin and I started doing Jay and Silent Bob Read Comics, where we've now done we've done 4 or 5 comic book shows for the Fan Expo, and we have I think at least 8 or 9 more, and we go to the comic book convention and we do photos, as Jason Mewes, Kevin Smith, and then you can also get a Jay and Silent Bob in costume photo op, and then him and I sign for 3 hours together, and then that night we do our live podcast at the convention. And it's been awesome because him and I already go to conventions and San Diego Comic-Con and Chicago Comic-Con, all this for years and years, but it's first time we've actually gone together and had a structured thing, and it's been amazing. Next one we do is Denver, but so I've been doing that, the amusing stories. I've been doing the comic conventions with Kevin, and then I've been streaming on Twitch, which is one of my favorite things because I get to do it from home, and twitch.tv/JMews, JYMEWS.
I'll put a link below for sure.
Please, yeah. So again, and I love that. I was for a while taking clips from different things and putting on YouTube as well, but I haven't been able to figure out how to really do it myself, like the editing and all that, and that's something I'm gonna try to get into. But that's anyway. I just babbled.
Or you have a new
for
best
minute.
friend right in front of you that can help you with that.
I like it. True. Because I got to figure out. Again, YouTube I know has been such a, people love it and sit and scroll and look at things and I started putting some videos up, but there's a lot to it and it's like I'll throw something up and I'll be like, is that good? And anyway, but yeah, so we'll see.
So for people who don't know, which is probably a small percentage, curious. Well, I'm curious. For people who don't know, you got your start in Highland Park, right? Highlands, New Jersey. Highlands, New Jersey. You knew Kevin Smith. He was a little bit older than you, I believe, in high school, right?
Yes.
And you were going to be a roofer, and he was making a movie, and you were like, he's crazy, and he put you in the movie, and that's how you became who you are today, right?
Yeah. So we went to the same high school, and we were acquaintances, and then we started. I started helping him at the Quick Stop where Clerks is filmed.
Right.
I would help him on Sundays, and the more we got to know each other, he's like, man, you got a weird sense of humor. It's different and weird, and I wonder if other people, is it just me and our friends who find it funny because we're from Jersey and it's Jersey funny and it's our weird sense of humor funny, or would other people find it funny? And when he was writing a movie, Clerks, and he's like, hey, I wrote a part for you, and I wrote it based on you, exactly how you are, and I want to see if other people find your sense of humor funny.
She's my cousin now. I'm gonna knock those boots again tonight. Oh, look who it is, the fucking human vacuum.
Scumbag, what are you doing?
Not to say how Silent Bob and his cousin.
He's your cousin?
Yeah, and he's from Russia, too.
No way. What part of Russia?
I don't fucking know. Do I look like his fucking biographer?
And it wasn't something I planned, and even after we filmed the movie every night, and when it was done and he started editing and he was like, I'm submitting it to film festivals, blah, 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 I went back to roofing and living my life and hanging out with my friends that were my age, doing my thing, and I didn't think anything of it. Kevin was gone, doing his thing, and I was like, cool, we made this movie, and I didn't know. So afterwards, I still didn't plan on it, and even after it came out, I still was roofing and working and didn't think anything of it. It really wasn't, we went and did Mallrats, where it seemed a little bit more real because Mallrats was a studio movie, and now all of a sudden we're in Minnesota for 2 months staying in they put me up in a hotel, per diem, stunt guys, wardrobe, it was so surreal.
Right.
Like all of a sudden now I'm on a real studio picture, I met Stanley and all that stuff. So yeah, it was, again, from before, even when we shot Clerks till after we filmed Clerks and it was being edited and going to Sundance and all that, I still didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, that was fun. As much as like after we're done here, I'll be like, oh, cool, I did this thing with,
Yeah.
Until I get to see it, I won't think anything, I'll be like, oh, cool. It sort of was that. I just went back to my everyday normal thing, and so it was interesting, man. And even after Mallrats, though, I went back to work.
Really? After Mallrats, you went back to a regular job?
Yeah, I went back. I was doing construction and delivering pizza, and then we did
What was that like when you were delivering pizza, showing up? People must have recognized you.
Every once in a while, man. Every once in a while, someone would recognize me. And be like, hey, weren't you in that movie? And I'd be like, snooch to the nooch. And they'd be like, well, you don't need a tip then. And, they can be like,
man.
It's funny because, the people's thoughts are, you're in a movie, you're rich.
Right.
And it's like, no.
No.
You know what I mean? Because the Clerks, we did an indie movie. We didn't get paid. And after Kevin sold it and stuff, he was able to give everyone, after he paid everything back, and he was able to throw everyone a little bit of money, But before that, it wasn't, I didn't plan on getting paid. And even when we got paid, it wasn't a lot. And then Mallrats, it was my first studio movie, so they gave me SAG, scale, union, whatever the heck, which is, at the time was like 16 grand after taxes. You're looking at
and that's a full year basically,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
People think it's a lot of money, but living on 16 grand for a full year is
and not even after taxes, 7 grand.
Right.
7 grand, and then the next thing we did was Chasing Amy, which I was only in one scene. So again, I got after taxes like 8 grand.
But also one of the best scenes of the movie. Let's be honest.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, I'm scaring myself. I think so much of this girl, and I can't get stupid shit like finger cuffs out of my head. I don't know what I'm doing.
Jason Amy.
What?
Yeah,
But
definitely
but
one
I'm
of the best
saying
scenes.
out of those 3 movies in I think it was like 3 years total, I made like, after taxes, 15 grand. So 15 grand in 3 years isn't rich. You know?
Right.
And,
And you starred in I would say 4 of the most iconic 90s films with Clerks, Dogma, Chasing Amy, and Mallrats. Mallrats had a big resurgence.
I love Mallrats.
You know?
My favorite one. Again, it was as a 19-year-old kid going to Minnesota and filming a studio movie, like, it was such a surreal thing. I wasn't, I didn't go through my situations that I had gone through when I got like 21 is when the bad stuff. So I had some addiction, and that didn't start till like 21. So I'm like a kid who can, I can go out with some peeps and have a little fun and not get crazy.
Right.
I was, 19, young, single, and all that. So it was such a surreal, fun experience, and I can like never recreate that.
Right.
It was cool. Like, we all stayed in the same hotel, like 40 of us. So after we were done filming all day, we'd all sit in the lobby and hang out. A long day work, and everyone go have a couple drinks and hang out. And so you'd have like 30 people from the movie all hanging out in this hotel lobby every night. And it was so fun. And we'd all, like 10 of us would break off and go to the pool, and we'd all go
That's
swimming.
amazing. Well, you mentioned the addiction issues. 12 years sober, correct?
July 2nd will be 12 years.
Coming up.
Yes,
Congratulations.
sir. Thank you.
That's a long road, right?
Yeah.
It's been a tough road.
Yeah, because in the bummer is like I had, it's weird because I had 4 years, and then I got kidney stones, and they gave me Demerol. And it started.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah. And
for the
it's
relapse.
Yeah, and I didn't want it to, like, but you got to try to pass the kidney stone, and you're not going to pass it if you're tensed up, and so I was like, all right, I'm gonna take the doctor's thing, and I was like, I could probably handle it, and I couldn't. Right. So then 2 years I was off. And then, but my point in mentioning this is because I had 4 years, 2 years down, like I messed up, and then 12 years. So really, the last 18 years, I realized, because someone the other day asked me about something, and I'm like, I haven't done that in 18 years, 17 years,
right.
Because even though I have 12 years coming up, like I really, in the year and a half that I messed up, anyway.
Right.
So anyway, so yeah.
Okay, so
I'm not mentioning, I'm probably not making it clear, but I'm trying not to talk too much about stuff,
Right, but you're open about it on the podcast, and you're helping people. You are helping people.
Yeah, Get Old was, Get Old for me was interesting and awesome because it was great for me. And Kevin would tour all over, and we'd talk about tell stories, and then we'd say how long I was sober, and people would call me out like, hey, how long you have from the podcast? So it was like, for me, it was like going to a meeting all the time and keeping myself accountable to people and stuff, and it was great. I didn't realize, I realized it started helping me, but I didn't realize people after 20, 30, 40 episodes, people are like, oh my God, bro, I've been listening to the podcast every week, and every time if I'm struggling, I'll listen to the podcast, and now I have 3 months sober, I have 4 months sober, and I had no idea that would happen. I didn't realize that our podcast wasn't just helping me.
Right.
So that was really an amazing part of it.
Did Kevin create the podcast kind of as a way to help you through it? That's 100%. What he did?
Yeah, because I had about 3 months, 4 months sober. He was doing like 3 podcasts, and he had opened up the Smod Castle over here on Sunset.
Right.
And I was going there to spend time with him because him and I hadn't seen each other because when I was strung out, when I was messed up, I wasn't really spending a lot of time with him. So I wanted to hang out with him and show him like, hey, I'm doing good. I want to spend time with you. And so where I'd go spend time with him is watching him do these podcasts. And I'm like, wow, it looks like he's having a lot of fun. I was like, I want to do one. And he was like, look, what do you want to do it about? I'm like, well, maybe we can do it about this. Maybe we could tell stories about comics. Maybe we could do this. He's like, listen, I'll do one with you, but I want you, because again, I could go deep in this, but the reason I feel like, really quick, the reason I felt like when I got the Demerol shot is because I wasn't going to meetings and I wasn't accountable to anybody when I went to do that. I just was dating this girl. I was hanging out with like her all the time, and I really wasn't going to meetings or spending time with any sober people or talking about what was going on because I was like, I have 4 years, I'm good.
Right.
But I felt like I didn't have a support system when I got the Demerol shot, and I realized, wow, I want more. And the next day, I took the prescription they gave me, and when it was over, I was like, oh, I want another prescription. I called the doctor. I didn't have a support system, so I told Kevin that, and Kevin's like, well, listen, let's do the podcast about this. You be accountable to everyone, and there's your support system out there in the world.
What a great idea.
And it worked, and it was really helpful, man. And it's, I used to wake up in sweat sometimes, like after like doing it for 2 years. I'd have a dream I like drank or something, and I'd be like, oh my God, we're doing a show tonight, and I gotta admit to everyone I drank. So like, again, like little things like that helped, like all these little things. Like me talking about it and getting it out there all the time. But also, like, I didn't want to disappoint people. Like, when someone comes up to me and they're like, dude, you saved my life. I have, 6 months now because of you and the podcast. Like, I would have bad dreams that I would mess up and
disappoint that person.
Yeah. So, like, stuff like that. It was interesting. But, again, and it was awesome. So we did that for 8 years or so, the podcast.
So, is it over now? I thought it was still going.
Yeah.
Is it
well, now it's transitioned
into the comic book.
But we're not really talking about. It's mainly now. Like we've changed. We tell some stories, what's going on with our lives and all that. But we've now moved it over. We read your comic book.
Right.
We talk about stuff like that. But instead of the addiction part stuff.
So I want to talk about Clerks 3. I want to say to you first of all that as much of a fan as I am of Clerks, I'm actually. I think in retrospect now I love Clerks 2 more.
Would you fuck me? I'd fuck me.
That movie means more to me, which is odd because Clerks was a big tentpole in my life.
Yeah.
Clerks, and then also you did Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. You did Jay and Silent Bob Reboot.
Yes.
You've been on Degrassi. Now you also
Scream. We did that quickie.
Scream
though.
3. Was that Scream 3 or 2?
I think it was 3. It was 3, I believe, when we were in line and we were waiting at the Universal's the lot. So it was so cool because it was so quick. But it's still cool, and every once in a while, someone will bring a Scream 3 poster up for me to sign.
Right.
It's awesome.
Yeah, you've done a lot of cameos as Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah.
But you also directed Madison the Method, your own movie.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was awesome, it's something I had wanted to do, and it's funny because I did this movie called Devil's Tower in London. This guy flew me out, and I did like 3 days on this movie. And because I was going to London, I was like, I'm not just coming out for 3 days and then flying home. Like, it's a 9-hour flight, 10-hour flight. So I was like, I'm going to explore. I'm going to stay an extra, like, 3-4 days after. So I did, and he showed me around at Nottingham and stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, I spent a lot of time with this guy who was a director and a producer who produced that movie. And he's like, hey, man, I just really want to know, like, what else do you want to do besides the J stuff and like, these shows you're doing? And I said, I really want to play like a Hannibal Lecter, American Psycho type character one day. I want to challenge myself and see if I could play this sinister, crazy, But I said I also really want to direct. So hopefully I'll get to do that. And he's like, that's amazing. And so like 3 months later, he called me. He's like, bro, I hope you're not bummed out, but I wrote a script. I hope you're not offended that I went ahead and wrote a script that I think you'll like. And I think something you might want to direct. And I was like, not at all, send it to me. So I sent it, he sent it, I read it. It was awesome. It was sort of what we shot, but not what we shot, sorry, but it was sort of the outline of what he wrote. But I said, hey man, instead of that, how about you put me in there as Jay Mewes, but like an alternate universe of that? And he's like, that's a great idea. So he wrote more, sent it back. I wrote some notes. And him and I, even though he wrote it, him and I went back and forth and came up with the storyline and what it was that you see. And then he's like, I think after we liked the script and stuff, he's like, I think I can get money for this. And he's like, and we can make this movie. I was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. But then stuff goes on. He's in London and he's working on another movie, and literally 8 months went by and I didn't even think anything about it. I forgot about it. And all of a sudden he calls me up one day and he's like, bro, he's like, listen, he's like, I think I found the money, and they said they'll give us the money and they're okay with you directing. And I was like, what, really? And they're like, yeah. He's like, but we have to film it out here in London because of the London finance, the money. And
was it all shot in London?
Most of it was. Some of it was filmed here. About 6 days of it was here, but most of it was in London.
Yeah, there's a few, because I'm a filming locations guy. It's what I do on my channel. So a couple of the shots I noticed was Hollywood, it was LA, but then a lot of it looked unfamiliar to me.
Yeah, like where we got Stan Lee was all here. We were up at this house down in, I forget what city it was. we took some shots from the hills here and
Right.
stuff like that. But yeah, so a lot of it, that was it. It was awesome, and it's awesome because I've been talking to him again, and he's like, man, he's like, I really want to do another one. I was like, me too. I said, the only thing I'd want to do different, again, I really enjoyed being in the movie, and again, what it was me being in it. But for my first directing debut, it was a little challenging trying to direct and that.
Right.
But again, we the good thing is he was there behind the camera when I was shooting certain scenes and stuff, and we would play back. We had playback, luckily, or I would just trust that he saw what I was thinking.
It's a great movie. Any movie that has a Bjork montage set to a Bjork song is pretty cool. And the actor who plays the witness, who is that guy? He was in Prisoners. Do you remember the name of the actor? He plays the witness to the crime that's committed early in the film, and you stab him. I'm not giving away too much of the movie.
No, yeah, David. So there's. So either you're talking about Judd Nelson and then David Duchamel's, and I can never say his name right.
I think it's him.
Yeah.
He's such a good actor.
He's
God,
very
he's got
good.
what a face.
Yeah, he's great,
Yeah.
dude. He's very good.
All right.
Yeah, he's in a ton of stuff.
Let's talk about Clerks 3 quickly before. So what can
Yeah.
you tell me that you can't tell me? We all basically know the plot that Randall has a heart attack and wants to make a movie. Is that basically the plot of Clerks 3?
Yeah, it's like, he realized, because it's really, if you look at it, it's really meta in the sense of like, it literally is Kevin, what happened, minus the heart attack, it's Kevin shooting Clerks. It's him
Right.
working at the quick stop and realizing, hey, I want to be a writer-director, but I also want my story to live on. Like, I don't want to be just known as, like, if something happens to me, I don't want to be known as the guy who, and
Right.
then, so he took what happened to him in the future, a heart attack, and put it in there. So again, all of it sort of is like that. And again, I feel like I'm horrible at explaining movies, and I would not want to say, I always worry I'm going to say something that isn't, that someone takes to heart, and then
Right.
it's like, oh my God, you said this, and then Kevin's like, no, that isn't,
Right.
But again, for me, it's like,
Are you happy with the
I'm
final
happy.
product?
For me, yeah, the movie's great. I think I think Kevin's super clever. I feel like with Reboot he did it. I feel like with this he did it, where he takes things and he puts it in, and it, like, you're like, oh my God, that makes so much sense, or wow, what a little throwback to the original, or to real life. Like me reading in Clerks 2, and I'm like, he's like, yo man, where you been? I'm like, yo, I got pulled over for a deployed airbag, and I spent 6 months. Like, that really happened in real life.
Really?
So I love that Kevin took that
Yeah.
and tied it into the movie and made it like, again, so I feel like constantly Kevin's doing that with the movies, where he ties them all together.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's the multiverse, right? It's
love it.
Kevin, it's the views, and my high school friends and I were waiting. Like, the people are waiting for Top Gun. They're waiting for Jurassic World. No. Me and my high school friends, all we text about Clerks 3, Clerks 3. And one last question about Clerks 3 that you don't have to tell me, but maybe give it to me in the eyes. Can't Even Tell by Soul Asylum, one of the best songs ever.
Yeah.
Is it in the movie?
I
You
don't
don't
know
know.
at this point, because again, I know that Kevin wants to get a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Again, it all depends on getting a hold of them people. Are they going to agree to it, and how much money it is, and all
Right.
that? Because you wouldn't think how much. And then there's like so much involved, which I didn't realize, but I overhear my wife. So it's cool. My wife's a producer on
Right.
the movie. She's produced the last 3 movies. Kevin asked her to help out with something. We've been together 15 years, almost 16. And he started being like, hey, can you help me with this thing? And she helped him real quick. And he's like, bro, your wife's smart and she's quick. And all of a sudden now they run the business together, and she runs our touring business, and she produced the last 4 movies. And anyway, my point is like, I hear her on the phone talking to the producers and the people, this and that. And it's like crazy, because you could pay for a song and have it in the opening credits, but that doesn't mean you can use it at the end,
Right.
or you can use it in the middle. You have to pay extra for this minute or that minute or this. There's so much involved that I didn't know. So I don't know what songs are going to be able to be used and what's not at this point, because I think they're still threading all that together.
Right.
So when it comes out,
I'm excited, man.
it's
I'm
over.
excited.
Yeah.
All right, look, guys, it was Jason Mewes. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, bro. This will be awesome. Again, He's gonna put a little this here and a little this there of where you can find me as well.
Yep.
So man, I appreciate how great. We were walking down the street and I was like, boo! I booed him just as a joke, and my wife's like, dude, don't do that. He's recording. That's not cool. And I was like, he thinks it's funny. He just started.
Oh, I haven't put that video up yet, but I was laughing while you're doing. And then we were walking along the street. I heard your voice, and there's no mistaking. There's no mistaking that voice. Can I hear you say it? Your catchphrase?
Snooch to the nooch.
I love
Snoochy
it.
mooches.
$15, little man. That too. Jay, thank you so much,
Thank
man.
you. See you later, man. Snooch to the nooch, y'all.
Peace.